We're halfway through the year at this point, and I can already tell you that Bo Burnham's new Netflix special, Inside, will probably be one of my favorite things that I have watched this year. And it's not even because the special is that funny, which it definitely is. Instead, it's more because of something else. See, I've been a big fan of Bo Burnham's for a long time now, like a long time, and he's always been someone to venture into the darker, more shock-focused corners of comedy. The topics he would cover in some of his earlier specials, or even just live albums like his first record, the self-titled Bo Burnham, he never shied away from deliberately subverting audiences' expectations in an effort to shock them, like writing a love song, except it's actually about an 83-year-old woman, or enjoying a cookout with friends in the summer, but the friends are actually members of the Ku Klux Klan. But as his career progressed, Bo's songs became more complex. The music, for example, in his songs became more than just a vehicle to usher along the next witty pun or shocking joke. And his lyrics too began to change. In his first special, Words, 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 Bo begins to examine his own place in comedy, how comedy is denigrating while comedic icons like George Carlin are rolling in their grave as a result of the current state of stand-up comedy. The song is called Art is Dead, and it's one of the few tracks on the album that really doesn't have any moments of humor in it at all. In fact, Bo even introduces the song by saying,
"This song isn't funny at all, but it helps me sleep at night."
It's one of the first peeks that we get into the mind of Bo Burnham, the artist, and less the comedian. See, throughout his career, Bo has really been the personification of the concept of the crying clown. It's even something that he alludes to at the beginning of his 2016 special, Make Happy. As his career has progressed, Bo seems to have developed a complicated relationship with his audience. His constant need for attention and validation seems to be at odds with his desire to make something meaningful and worthwhile. At the end of his seemingly last stand-up special, Make Happy, we see Bo playing his final song titled Are You Happy? It's a pretty simple question that Bo is asking the audience, but also maybe himself. At the end of the song, we see Bo venture out of this dark studio into a world of bright light brimming with possibilities, on to explore the rest the world has to offer. Since then, Bo had seemingly moved on from stand-up comedy to pursue filmmaking. Throughout his career, he had starred in a few films before, as well as a TV show, but this time he wanted to take a step behind the camera with his directorial debut, 8th Grade. It's a film that examines the nature of social media and constant visual stimulation and how that affects the eyes of our youth, a generation of kids whose entire perception of themselves has been molded through the lens of social media. See, this is something of a fixation for Burnham, the impact social media and the internet has had on him and presumably others of a similar or younger age. It's something he sang about way back in 2009 with his song Welcome to YouTube, and it's something that he revisited in his newest special, Inside. Now, I really don't think that there are any two better songs to compare to one another in an effort to track Bo's progression as a comedian and an artist than these two songs, where in one song you have silly jokes about trends of the day like Fred and Chris Crocker. But look at Welcome to the Internet. It's a song that examines the internet as a personified melodramatic villain. In the song, Bo sings about how we are completely overstimulated with content and how much of it there is out there. In the song, Bo also talks about how the internet can be used as a tool too. As we saw this past summer, social media can fuel the fight against injustice. Conversely though, Bo writes about how the internet can be also used to radicalize young men, and if they have an interest in it, they could build something deadly like a bomb. See, comedy has usually been seen as a means of escapism, taking the mind of the audience briefly away from the stressors of work or the world around them and giving them an opportunity to laugh at their troubles. But how is a comedian supposed to create escapism when they don't have an audience they themselves can escape towards? Some comedians like Mike Birbiglia looked towards other comedians and made a podcast. But with Bo, well, he kind of did what he has always done. He sat at the piano, turned on a camera, and made music. and then he released it to the world over the internet. But the Bo that we see here is definitely a far cry from the one that we see in his bedroom back in 2006, and that's not just because he's older, but also the world looks a lot different than it did 14 years ago. Especially considering when Burnham wrote and directed and edited this special in 2020, that was a year filled with unimaginable pain and loss, but also one of revolution. But instead of giving us something to take our attention away from the world around us, Bo pushed us further deeper into it. He let us into the same room that we saw him emerge from just 4 years prior. As the special continues, it's clear that this room isn't just a studio where Burnham happened to record his music. It's a place where at one time he thought he had emerged from. It's a place of doubt, depression, and anxiety. But in 2020, as it did for so many of us, forced Bo to dig up some of the skeletons he thought he had finally put away. Bo addresses this much in his songs, and it's no surprise that Bo turned it to something that he undoubtedly knows very well, the world of musical comedy. But the task this time seems so much more insurmountable. How can you possibly joke at a time like this, a time where people are dying at a historic rate every single day? Bo, of course, makes light of the fact that a white guy like him seems to be turning attention from everything, going and putting it on himself. But Bo really never suggests that making jokes is going to change things or make them better, or that he even has any real solution to the problems at hand. Instead, it's almost a means of survival for him, a defense mechanism of sorts. And what results is arguably one of the least funny of his specials, and actually provides the most introspect into the mind of Burnham, more so than any of his other works. We see the oh-so-relatable aimlessness of a quarantine routine, but also the strange dependency on it that we have. Without the purpose of creating this special, Burnham is really left with nothing. No comedy to help him against the unending loneliness. Yeah, it's bleak stuff to be sure, but that's oddly what's always been there with Burnham's work. He's always given us peeks behind the clown makeup, showing his growing cynicism with the endless flood of the content we are subject to. Now, I don't really think that Bo has any answers for what is happening in the world, whether that be the tangible world around us or the intangible world of the internet, and I don't really think he pretends to. See, as Bo steps out into the world, something he has been wanting to do for so long, he is met with laughter and applause, laughter coming at the expense of him. It's a return to the terrifying reality he once feared, one that he mentioned would give him panic attacks while he was on stage. But even as he watches himself, seeing himself struggling in an effort to hide from the world, he can't help but smile because, well, after all, at least everyone is laughing.